Good morning. My name is Jasmine, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the CA Snap Nimsoft Monitor Webcast conference call. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. Mr. Newberry, you may begin your conference.
Thank you very much. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. On behalf of CA Technologies, I'd like to welcome you to a CA Nimsoft Monitor and Snap 7.5 release webcast. My name is Dennis Newberry. I'm a product manager for the Nimsoft business unit under the systems team, and one of my focus areas is developing this community. So I'd like to personally thank you for joining today. The 7.5 release contains many marquee features that we believe you've been asking for, and it's going to add significant business value. So I'd like to take a moment to briefly introduce the speakers we have with us today and the topics that we intend to cover. To lead off, we have, with our Snap product, we have Raj Sundaram. He's a product manager for the Nimsoft business and has responsibility for our monitoring probes. Next, I would switch it to Pete Zwetkof and Robert Vicante, who are product managers in our user experience team. And they're going to be covering maintenance mode, enhanced US system views for VMware, and our new HTML5 dashboards that we're very excited about. Then I'll turn it over to Kurt Spence, who's going to cover our dynamic thresholds. Then Umair Khan from our product marketing team is going to be discussing a very fun contest that we're currently running in the community. And then finally, I'll wrap it up with some resources that we will provide to you, as well as summarizing some of the questions that you have in the chat and open up the line for questioning. I would encourage you to ask questions during the session, and the 4 of us that are not presenting actively will do our best to respond to those questions in real time. So again, thank you for your time this morning, and I'll turn it over to Raj.
Thanks, Dennis. Hi, everyone. My name is Raj Sundaram. As Dennis mentioned, I'm the product manager for most of the probes for our product, and I'm happy to share with you the update that we made for Snap 7.5. We continue to add increased coverage for newer technologies, and we've taken the opportunity for 7.5 to add more database monitoring, storage and virtualization monitoring, as well as application monitoring. As far as database monitoring goes, we've added capabilities for Oracle, Informix, and DB2. I would like to call your attention to the fact that these probes require a client library to be installed prior to using the config GUI, but they still follow the same ease of use paradigm to the extent possible. As far as storage and virtualization monitoring goes, we've added coverage for Red Hat, virtualization, and VMAX, and application monitoring now supports JVM monitoring, as well as 3 app servers, JBoss, WebLogic, and WebSphere. Just to illustrate a simple workflow for Oracle GUI, you would continue to use the same paradigm that you are probably used to with configuring some of our other probes. You click on the configuration button up on top, which will launch all the various monitoring capabilities. You would click on the wheel next to the monitoring that you are interested in. That will bring up the probe configuration GUI, in this case for Oracle. And then you would continue to establish checkpoints and then start monitoring your service or your endpoint. One other thing that we've added for this release is the ability to ensure secure communication to our backend systems, particularly for heartbeat data. During the installation process, this is fairly transparent to the end user, either for new installs or upgrades. And the user can optionally also provide config information from within the Snap GUI by clicking on the proxy configuration menu item under Actions. So that's all the update I had for Snap 7.5. Dennis?
Okay, great. Thank you. So I hand the ball to Pete at this point.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. So one of the main features that we have, one of the marquee features that we have for the 7.5 release is a maintenance mode feature. This is our #1 customer requested feature in our ideas forum, and you'll see in this release we have covered off the number 1, number 2, and number 3 top requested features. What this feature is all about is preventing false alarms from monitored elements that are under maintenance to prevent operational staff from focusing on these false alarms so they can really focus on alarms that they need to be resolving that are related to a real business impacting event. Another key feature of the maintenance mode is whenever you look at a chart in USM or a PRD chart, you will see a grayed out transparent overlay over the chart that denotes the period of the maintenance window when it occurred, or maintenance windows if you happen to be looking at a more longer-term historical chart. You can hover over data points within that window and actually see which maintenance window this was, for instance, like my Thursday night maintenance window. And this feature is easy to use, and we'll see a couple of screenshots here on how that feature fits into USM and how you can simply drag and drop new systems into an established schedule. Next slide, please. So maintenance overlays on the charts. Here's an example from on top, you see an example from what a metrics chart, for instance, you select a metrics chart in USM, what it would look like. You can see over to the right a grayed out area, and this represents the time period where this system was in maintenance mode, and we see the CPU utilization here. We can see a clear indication of that. Down below, we can see CPU usage from PRD perspective, and here you see to the far right the same grayed out chart area, and you can see that as you mouse over or hover over a data point within that chart, you'll actually see what maintenance schedule was impacting this particular measurement. The maintenance tab has been added to USM, and how you'll find the maintenance tab is you'll select any group. Here we have the top level group in the USM tree, and when you select the group, in addition to the existing group and alarms tabs, you'll now see a maintenance tab. And in the maintenance tab, you'll see a number of different things that you can do here. First of all, from the maintenance tab, you can create a brand new schedule. You also have options to do things like configure a schedule with this gear, delete a schedule, clear all the items from a schedule, or if the schedule is in operation, this stop hand will be solid instead of grayed out. You'll be able to stop a maintenance schedule in operation. From the selection of the group level, you can see all of your maintenance schedules here laid out. You'll see the name of the maintenance schedule, and you'll see a human-readable description of when these schedules start, like every day, every week, on a particular day. And then you'll see systems associated. As you open up the schedule, you'll see systems associated with that schedule. You'll also have the ability when you have lots of schedules to hide empty schedules or hide inactive schedules. So perhaps you only want to focus on the schedules that are active. Creating a maintenance schedule is very easy. You just select new schedule. You put a name and description in for the schedule. If you want to associate the schedule with a particular account, you can associate that schedule with a particular account user. You can then select the schedule, whether it's going to be once, daily, weekly, monthly. Then you'll put in schedule reoccurrence information if you want the schedule to reoccur, and then you save. What you will do then is you'll go over to the USM tree, just as you see here, and to the right of the USM tree, you see this 3-bar drag symbol. What you'll do is you'll select on that drag symbol and simply drag the system that you want into that schedule. You can also grab a group into that schedule, or you can do a search and grab the results of that search, either the whole search or items within that search, into and onto the schedule, and you'll see them immediately populate in the schedule. Once you have the system under maintenance, or once the schedules become active, you will see indications of the system in maintenance. You will see that here on the left-hand tree. You can see a system under maintenance. If all the systems are under maintenance, then the folder containing that system will also have a maintenance indicator all the way up the tree. If you select that system, you will actually see within that system, once again, the indication is in maintenance. And down below, you'll see more information about the schedule and the ability to stop that schedule, to delete the schedule, to configure the schedule. You can also drill through to the schedule from here. There's also an indicator up here that allows you to take a system and immediately put it into maintenance. So if you wanted to create an ad hoc maintenance or an emergency maintenance schedule, you could grab any system in USM and put it immediately into maintenance by clicking on this symbol from within the Systems tab. As you look at inventory, you can get a clear indication in inventory. There's a new column in inventory that shows you that a particular system participates in a schedule, and if you mouse over that schedule, you'll see a tooltip that tells you when the next schedule occurs. And finally, in our mobile app, if you use our mobile app, you'll see indications of maintenance in the mobile app, so that if you are looking at systems in there, you'll understand which ones are in maintenance at the moment. We also have a new feature, which is a very useful feature for folks who have VMware environments. This is the ability to see a hierarchy within USM of your systems in a navigatable form, so you can navigate from vCenter to ESX Host to VMware and see some key performance indications in terms of graphs and other systems info within the USM views. Let's take a look at how those manifest. So for instance, if you go into an inventory view, you'll see that you have listings in there. If you select device types, you get a pie chart that shows you your hosts, your vCenters, your virtual servers, and your VMware hosts. By selecting any of these items here, like vCenter here or here, you can get a filtered view. You can also, based on looking at your VMware hosts, your vCenters, or your virtual centers, drill down by selecting the name in the name column down to that particular item. So if we were to drill down, for instance, to our vCenter, we would see key information in our vCenter, which includes the number of hosts associated with that vCenter, any storage vMotions that have happened, any VM vMotions that have happened, the total memory in that system, the total CPU, and what type of virtualization it is. Today we support VMware. We intend to support other types of virtualization as we go forward. You'll also see an overall disk consumption metrics. You'll see top 5 resource pools, top 5 data source stores, top 5 hosts, and then you can drill down into any of these hosts and top 5 VMs in terms of consumption. You'll be able to sort and select to view top 5 based on memory or top 5 based on CPU, etc. If we were to drill down into one of our ESX hosts, we would see ESX host information, and that ESX host information is going to contain information like what cluster I'm in, what vCenter I belong to. I could drill back up from here to the vCenter, what my hypervisor state is, any VMs that are in distress because of CPU, because of high CPU ready, VMs that are ballooning here, indications of sprawl like how many VMs are active versus the total VMs I have on this system, and then the top 5 VMs, as well as a bunch of consumption metrics charts that are available to us. And then if we were to drill down additionally into our VMs, we could see VM-related data, including our host data, resource pools associated with this VM, the tool status. Tool status is very important for us. You need to install VMware tools so we can properly manage your VMs through USM. So If you don't have your tools up, your VMware tools installed and running for a particular VM, you would need to do so to get this additional information. You can see CPU count, you can see disk information here, you can see information on interfaces, and a wide variety of charts available for you. And now I'll turn it over to Robert for discussion on dashboards.
Sorry, apparently my slides were not inserted. I think I can deal with this because I do have the slides, but let me bring it up. Just one second. Sorry for this. To share my other desktop. Oh, I can't share my Dennis. I would suggest we skip my presentation here for a second since I don't have the option of sharing my desktop within the way this WebEx is set up. So whoever is next, please step forward since it doesn't appear I can just share my own desktop. So, dynamic thresholds, Kurt?
Robert, I just gave you, okay.
Okay, that's fine. We'll come back to it. I'm sure Robert will work in the background here to get this moving. So, okay. So here we are, dynamic threshold overview. So again, as Pete mentioned early on, another one of our top ideas that's come in from our ideas area is the ability to do dynamic thresholding. So with a previous Nimsoft release, 6.5 actually, we released the baseline engine, which basically allowed us to, as the name suggests, do baselining on QoS metrics, which was a 4-week moving average calculated at the top of each hour. And so the feature now that we've provided with 7.5 that'll be in Snap as well as the Nimsoft Monitor product will be the ability to build dynamic thresholds based on that. And so I got a couple screenshots here in a minute, but the concept is within the UI to be able to configure the baselines and dynamically select these dynamic thresholds as you want. The static thresholds from that you may know and love from the past probes configuration will still be there. So this is an addition of the dynamic capability. Here's an example of a sample alarm that would come through. In this case, it was QoS CPU usage showing its value on such and such a device. It's across the warning threshold with a baseline of +9%. Baseline was 625. So again, the idea of trying to give informational alarm messages in here, coming from this standard engine of saying, you know, you've set in this case a percent deviation at a warning level, and so here's a message that comes along with that. But let me show you a few screenshots for dynamic thresholds. I can get the clicker to move me forward. There we go. So here's, again, just an example from our CPU disk memory probe, kind of a snippet here of what you'll see. So as before, when you look at the different QoS metrics that are available, you'll see the published data checkbox, which is a prerequisite. We'll want to continue. We need to publish the data to be able to baseline on it, and then therefore to be able to build a dynamic threshold on it. So by first publishing the data, now the compute baseline will become active, and you can select that as well. So if all you want to do is just continue to baseline metrics and not build dynamic thresholds, that's fine. You have that option. You can still continue to do that and use static thresholds as before. But now by computing a baseline, the dynamic threshold capability shows up as well. And so here's an example of the algorithm, which we actually have three things you can select in the algorithm. Scalar, which would just be a set number. So for instance, if you were looking at disk utilization, the scalar might be, you know, megabyte increments. Then you can also pick a percent increment. So if you want to set your warning levels at, let's say we see here a warning level at 10% deviation from baseline. You know, critical is 25%. And then you can also, the algorithm you can select is also standard deviation. So that way you can have different ways that you can decide how you want to set the thresholds. And then again, depending on the algorithm you choose, you'll see different, for the 5 standard levels, you'll have the different according kinds of fill-in fields there for the algorithm that you picked. And so it's pretty much that simple to be able to do dynamic baselining, baselining first, then set the dynamic thresholds on your algorithm based on the kinds of QoS metrics that you want to be able to have that capability for. I think that was my last slide. So Dennis, do you want to bounce back to Robert then? Should we do that?
Yes. Pass control to Robert, and then he's going to share his content.
Okay, Robert, here it comes. Should be. There you go.
All righty, is that coming through?
Yep, it is.
Okay. Sorry for the little snafu. I am going to be talking a little bit about our new dashboard engine. For those of you that are familiar with it, we've had dashboards for some time, and it's one of our more popular features. But we also noted, as Pete talked about earlier, that dashboards was one of the items that we had a lot of comments about and a lot of requests to make improvements to. So what we did was that we created a completely new dashboard engine addressing a lot of the needs and a lot of the requests that people had. This was completely written from the ground up, does not share code with our old dashboard engine at all, and it's a tool we're pretty excited about being able to release. So a couple highlights on this. First of all, this is HTML5 based. That means that there's no longer a need for any type of plugin, whether Flash is what was previously necessary. Now that's no longer necessary. That gives you, not only is there the benefit of not having to load a plugin, you also now have the opportunity to use it better on like a mobile device, because oftentimes, such as on an iPad, you don't have the option of having Flash control on there. So that's one big advantage. The second one, we've streamlined the method. It's a really tight develop and test loop. You go immediately from within the same pane of glass on the exact same screen, go back and forth between running in a live view where you can see the data being published, see how your dashboard's going to perform, and going back and forth between design. As you can see on the screen right now, this is the design mode with the dashboard in the center of it. It's got a tabbed set of controls on the right where you choose widgets and drag those onto your canvas. When you go into the live view, all of the stuff on the right goes away, the tools across the top go away, and you've got a live data. Then pressing one little button that's superimposed in the upper left-hand corner, you drop back into the design mode. So it's really easy to toggle back and forth and to work on the dashboard and get it tuned exactly the way you want. Now, one other thing that was one of the larger issues that people reported was on the previous dashboard, there were so many tools displayed that there was no room to build a very big dashboard. And we've also resolved that by hiding things or putting things all on a tabbed interface on the right, just providing a whole lot more space to be able to work on things. And finally, we've got a much more modern design. Our widgets are updated somewhat, but we do have also now a development platform that moving forward we can integrate a whole lot more capabilities much more easily with a lot more flexibility than we had in our previous product. So we're pretty excited about this. One other thing worth noting is that the approach that we took in designing this, and I think you'll see this from CA and a lot of our products going forward, is that we're trying to get our customers involved. I looked through the list of names that were on this presentation and saw some names that looked familiar because we got customers involved as early as we could in the design of this. So as we were working on it and before we had working code or when we had our earliest prototypes, we were showing it to customers, giving you all an opportunity to give us feedback, tell us what you thought, help us make improvements. We actually had a lot of positive comments, but obviously we didn't get it perfect the first try as we were working on our early designs, and we were able to incorporate about 3/4 of all of the requests that were made to us in some of our mid testing when we were able to send this out to alpha customers in order for them to evaluate it. So they gave us feedback, we integrated those things, sent it back out, and got some of these comments. These are actually a combination of some of our beta testing and from our alpha testing. People like the dashboard designer, finding it much simpler, much better than the previous one. There are some features that we've added that we think are pretty innovative that make it much easier to design a dashboard. In this case, they were referring to something called connector mode that they said that's cool. And people really are liking this product. So we're very excited. It's something that was obviously just released this week, but if you have an opportunity, kick the tires, let us know what you think, and we will be continuing to evolve this product in the coming next couple of quarters as we get that feedback and as we add additional features. Our initial goal was to provide all the functionality that we had in the previous release in this release. Now going forward, now that we've accomplished that, we're going to be able to add additional functionality to make it better and a more enhanced tool, in addition to just the far more fundamentally stable base that we're now building on. So the one other thing I wanted to mention about this is that for those of you that do have old dashboards, we do have a migration process that's automatic. So when an old dashboard is running in our system and you bring up the new dashboard, what it does is it interrogates the database to find out if those old dashboards exist. If they do, it pulls them across automatically. Now, it is a migration. The old file and new file are not the same file. So it pulls it across, makes the changes that are necessary, and writes that down. Again, the data formats are not the same, so these two files will continue to exist. Now, the thing that's worth noting is that the migration is completely doesn't touch any of the original dashboard. So if there are things that you want to leave intact or there are changes, there's no risk in trying this because the old dashboards are left intact without any changes made to them whatsoever. Now note at the top we show an old dashboard and we show a new dashboard and what we did when we migrated it. One thing worth noting, if there are any migration issues, that yellow sticky note that we have in the center of that discusses what the problems are and what there are to be fixed. And I'll just give you a simple example. Our goal, we took a lot of dashboards that were provided by our customers. We migrated them to make sure that they worked really effectively. But for those small items that don't migrate, we want to make sure people are aware of it. For instance, one of the things we had in the old dashboards that we don't have in the new dashboard is a curved line. We have to have a multi-segment line instead. And so when we migrate, you get a line. It's connecting the same widgets together, but it's not curved. So that you would have an indication of something like that. You would be told that you need to make a change there, and you'd have to make that adjustment in order to make sure that you understood that had happened. There are other things. If you look at the release notes, if you have this product, you'll see what those other limitations are. And the other thing, if you make changes to the old dashboard after a migration, the migration doesn't occur again. It actually requires you to rename it. It marks that it's migrated that dashboard once, and then as far as it's concerned, it's done. So if you need to make a change in an old dashboard and want that to remigrate, what we suggest doing is just saving it under another name. And finally, I talked about the sticky note issues. So we're excited. Please provide us feedback. Take a look at it, kick the tires, and let us know what you think. So with that, I will hand the ball over to our next presenter. Let me stop sharing here. And Dennis, who is the next presenter that I need to hand this to?
So Umair will go next. Okay. Umair, you're up.
Yeah. So you can pass it to Dennis as well because I just have one slide, so it's easier to do the transition, right?
Yeah, I have control. Go ahead.
I already chose you, Umair. Thank you.
No problem. So, hi, everyone. I just wanted to quickly walk you guys through a new fun contest that we just launched in the Nimsoft Monitor Snap community. For those of you who are members of the Nimsoft Monitor community, the URL for that is snapcentral.ca.com. Again, it's a fun contest around creating some fun IT monitoring memes. And the idea is that you can use any of those online tools available, create a fun graphic. You share with us, and we'll post it in the community. The community gets to vote, and actually, if you get the highest number of votes, you'll get a chance to win some of the cooler prizes, which includes a really nice Kindle Fire, one of those really popular Pebble smartwatches, and some cool remote RC-controlled robot cars as well. So in case you don't want to submit an entry, you're more than welcome to join the community and vote on these, but definitely do spend some time going through these. Some of these are really funny. Just a quick note on the contest. So as we get entries, I usually post them under my name, but I always tag the person who submitted their entry. So again, I would really urge you guys to do check out our contest. It's really fun, and it has been getting a lot of hype on social media as well. That's it for me. Dennis? Thank you, Umair.
So finally, I'm not going to go through these links and this list of resources in detail, but what I was going to say was I'm going to post these slides, the correct set of slides, in both communities, Snap Central as well as our premium community. So you can take a look at these. These are references to our product binary downloads as well as our documentation. On the second slide here, we have a list of Snap-specific links, so technical docs. Both of these first 4 links, I'll reference you back to the Snap Central community where the majority of all of our content exists. as well as a link to the Snap download registration page and to our upgrade. So with that, I think that's the extent of our content for today. So what I'd like to do at this point is to shift to Q&A. I know there's been a number of questions answered in the community already, but I'd like to call out a few questions here that have not been answered yet. And if any of the panelists would like to step forward and cover specific questions that have been asked so far that you think is particularly relevant, please do so now. So the first of which, I'll just go through and read some of these. I know some of you have already had responses to these questions. So I'd like to do, and Simon had a question. One moment. So Amit Saxena had a question about what about QoS performance messages? Where does it get where it gets dropped in maintenance mode? Does any one of the panelists have an answer to that particular question?
So this is Kurt. So basically, the algorithm is anything QoS related, any measurement information, or anything coming from a QoS type of piece of information, that information flows through. Anything that's coming from an alarm category of information is coming from the probes onto the bus, but is actually then going to be suppressed by the alarm server at the central Nimsoft management station. So the QoS, anything from a QoS family of data will come through the system and be stored. And as Pete talked about, you'll see in the reports, you'll see gray bands in the reports generated, et cetera, to show places where QoS metric, received was during the maintenance window. The goal with the alarms being suppressed then is that those alarms don't show up in the console, auto operators aren't fired for them, things like that. So basically the clauses are completely suppressed then centrally during the maintenance window. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Kurt. So there's another question from Keith that I think is that you may also have the answer for. Is the baseline period configurable? It was configurable in the old version of baselining.
So that's a good question. So right now the baseline that was delivered in 6X and we continue to use today is kind of a fixed algorithm. It's a 4-week rolling window with a roll up at the top of the hour. We actually have received several idea requests from customers to provide another version of the calculator that allows for different granularities of baselines. And that's actually something that we're actively considering on our roadmap right now. So I would say kind of, watch for our updates coming out soon around that, because we're actively kind of looking at providing more dials on the baseline generator then specifically for that.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm not going to read through each of these. There's a new question by Simon that just came in. The new maintenance probe, does that run on each robot or centrally? So that runs on the primary hub.
That's right. There's a single maintenance probe that runs on the primary system that maintains all of the schedules that come in either through the API. There were some questions about that. You can programmatically set and deal with the maintenance windows or through the UI, as Pete showed. But you're right. There's a central maintenance mode service now that'll be running on the NMS core. Now, one thing I will mention, though, is that if you have multiple Nimsoft alarm servers, those alarm servers should all be able to, I believe, listen to the same window. But even if you have a remote Nimsoft alarm server that for some reason doesn't understand the maintenance windows, or there's some lag, again, given the propagation of alarms to the system, as long as the core NAS has got the right schedules, the suppression will still happen. So ideally we want the suppression to happen as far out in the system as we can if you have multiple NASs. But even if there's a delay in propagation of the schedules, the system will still behave as you want.
Very good, thank you. So the next question is there a way we can fix particular dates in the calendar as maintenance windows rather than choosing daily or monthly? I don't know, Pete, or if you have an answer to that one.
And yes, yeah, I'm sorry, I was on mute. So can you fix a particular date in the calendar rather than choosing daily or monthly? Today, you can fix a particular date in the calendar for a single run, but for daily or monthly, you would choose that based upon a recurring schedule. And you do have latitude to change, to choose first day of month or et cetera. But there is no calendar where you can go into and say, hey, at some certain arbitrary points in the future, I want to run this, if that's what the question is today.
Great, thanks, Pete. So the next question was around the Nimsoft Mobile 7.5. When would that be available in the Play Store for Android? I don't know if anybody on
today. Yeah, it should be
today. Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
There's always a lag with the Apple Store, and unfortunately, CA does not control that lag. It goes through the Apple process, and they release it when they're ready.
Yeah, this one was specifically about Android, so it's also available on Android as well, correct?
Yeah. So Android should be available today. Apple, there's generally a slight delay.
Okay. So Simon asked the questions, would it be possible for a CLI tool on the robot to interact with the maintenance on the core hub via remote hub using the SSL tunnel? Does it need to be addressed, or would it be a controller maintenance _ until callback act as a proxy? So he had a previous question about his specific configuration and how the new maintenance mode would potentially interplay with that.
So, I suppose it would be possible to do. That's nothing that we have tested or support. If you can establish a tunnel via your application and then via that tunnel make the call, the API calls, sure. But that's nothing that we tried or tested here.
Okay, great. So I'd like to call the operator. Jasmine, could you open up the line for questions and see if there's any live questions on the call today?
Again, I would like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 to ask a question. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. Again, that's star 1 to ask a question. There are no audio questions at this time.
Okay, if there are no further questions, that was all we had for today. I really appreciate everyone's time, and please keep the ideas coming. We've been actively reviewing those, and a lot of the content you saw in 7.5 is a result of your ideas, so we really appreciate your input. Thank you very much, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you. This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.